bring in New York Republican Congresswoman and member of the House Ways and Means Committee, Nicole Malliotakis. Great to have you on here. Congresswoman, these drone sightings have become a daily occurrence. You represent Staten Island, where a number of these drones have been appearing. What kind of answers are you getting on this?
We're getting zero answers, and you're hearing Republicans and Democrats, United States senators, members of Congress, governors, mayors, who are really frustrated because our government is not providing us with any information for our constituents. And that leads me to believe that the government knows exactly what is going on, because as incompetent as the Biden administration has been, particularly when we saw the China spy balloon cross our country over military installations, I don't believe that this would be going on as long as it has without any action, considering our sophisticated technology, our military capabilities. I don't believe that this would be going on and continuing if there was a foreign nexus. So I believe it is our own government. I don't know if they're doing some type of surveillance, if they're doing some type of counterterrorism, but the reality is they need to let the public know what's going on, and they certainly need to let members of Congress know what is going on. And the fact that we've been requesting briefings, whether it be classified or whatever other information they can give, and they haven't provided it, is just unacceptable.
I want to get to this, too, because this just happened here this morning. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he was on ABC this week. This is how he responded to these drones and what he's making of the situation. Watch.
There's no question that drones are being sighted. Let me set the record straight here, George. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk.
So, Congresswoman, he's saying that these are drones up in the air. He doesn't really get into specifics about this, but these drones are quite large. Some residents have reported these things the size of a car. Why is he not being transparent with the public?
Let's be honest. I don't believe a thing that Secretary Mayorkas says. This is the same guy who told us that our border was secure and that they were vetting individuals coming into our country. So I don't believe a word he says, and I don't think he even knows what's going on, because he is probably one of the most incompetent officials in the entire United States government. Secondly, as far as I know, FAA regulations do exist that they cannot fly these drones between dusk and dawn. And also, if they do, they need a government waiver to do so. So if that's the case, then the government knows exactly who is flying these drones. And as you mentioned, these drones are very sophisticated. These are not hobby drones. These are not, I don't believe, commercial drones. And so, again, it's just more dishonesty, lack of transparency coming from this administration. And it's just unacceptable to any of us. And by the way, I'm concerned, New York City is so heavily populated. Right. These things are flying above the Verrazano Bridge, above our military installations, above houses, above buildings. And there could be an accident. There could be a crash. There is no excuse for this random uptick in objects flying overhead, whether they're planes, which they tried to convince us that these are not drones, that these are actually small aircrafts. Why all of a sudden the sudden uptick? And why is there not being anything in place to put restrictions so they're not flying above our military installations and sensitive infrastructure and populated areas like New York City?
That's a good point. And you brought up surveillance. If these are, in fact, the U.S. government, these drones, and they are looking for something, what do you think that they're looking for?
And this is the thing, right? There's so much speculation. There's so many different theories. And that's the problem. When you're not honest with people, when you're not transparent, it feeds all sorts of misinformation. I mean, you're hearing that it could be, the Iranian regime doing surveillance. You're hearing that it could be counterterrorism in search of a nuclear weapon. All sorts of things are out there on the internet, and it's because our government is not being honest and transparent. So the best way to kill misinformation is by, being honest with the American people. And so that's all we're asking for. We deserve to know what's going on. This is unacceptable, and I think it's dangerous. regardless of who's operating these drones. Because again, there's too many objects in our airspace above very populated areas. And again, I don't necessarily believe that there's a foreign nexus, because if there is, shame on this administration for allowing this to continue for so long without taking immediate action.
Just tell me why New Jersey? What's in this area that could be potentially harmful if this is a surveillance exercise? What are some of the targets there or potential dangerous situations there in New Jersey?
Well, look, in New York and New Jersey, we have obviously a lot of sensitive infrastructure. It's heavily populated communities. In New Jersey, you have some military installations, or you have equipment for the military that's housed. You have Bedminster, which is one of the residences for President Trump. In New York, where we've seen drones, and we've seen them really all over Staten Island and in southern Brooklyn. But where I am in particular, you see the U.S. Coast Guard base on one side of the Verrazano Bridge, and on the other side of the Verrazano Bridge, you have U.S. Army installation at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. And so it is really concerning that this is happening, and I expect more from our government. The people should demand more. And this is why January 20th cannot come fast enough, where we will have an actual competent president of the United States who puts America's security first. And I don't believe that this would be taking place right now if President Trump was in office. And if he was in office and it was happening, he'd have a damn good reason for it. And I expect, this president that we currently have to at least acknowledge it. The fact that the president, the Pentagon, nobody's actually gone on television to address this issue that is causing anxiety and fear and anger and frustration among the population. It's unacceptable. They should at least be addressing the concerns for the people. Remember, you work for us. It's not the other way around.
Right. And you're exactly right. I mean, there's so many people that are concerned about this. And as we don't get that information, it creates conspiracy theories and all sorts of different things that alarm a lot of people. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
For more on the ongoing drone sightings in New Jersey and the East Coast,